Good evening, Wareham, and welcome to the Select Board meeting of May 13th, 2025. May I have a roll call, please?
Present tonight, Mr. Still, myself, Jared Chadwick, Ms. Whiteside, Ms. Corbett, Mr. Gomes, and Mr. Bowen. Excused tonight is Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you very much. I declare that there is a quorum present. May I have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Gomes, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, may I have a motion on Article 5A on the agenda?
Yes. I move to open the public hearing.
No, 5A, dear.
5A. Oh, all right, sorry. Missed it. I move to accept donation in the amount of $500 from Friends of the Wareham Free Library, Inc. to the Spinney Memorial Branch of the Wareham Free Library for operating expenses.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve, to accept a donation. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Still?
Aye.
Mr. Gomes?
Aye.
Ms. Corbett?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it is so. Mr. Chadwick, may I have a motion, please, to open a public hearing, please?
Now I can do it.
Yes, sir.
I move to open the public hearing for dangerousness dog hearing. Dangerous dog hearing at 7 p.m.
Requested by?
Requested by Animal Control Officer regarding dog owned by Marcio Mambrini.
Mombrini. Yep.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to open the hearing on a dangerous dog hearing. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Still?
Aye.
Mr. Gomes?
Aye.
Aye.
Corbett?
That's her name.
I know. Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes. The hearing is open. I will now turn the hearing over to Mr. Bowen, Town Council, and he will run the hearing. All of the questions or comments will go through Mr. Bowen unless he directs that they come through me. Okay? Mr. Bowen.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just for the benefit of anybody who just happened to tune in, and for our new members, congratulations very much. And Mr. Chadwick, congratulations on re-election. What I do is I try to run it like a trial where we have the prosecution present the case, then the defense puts its case on, people get a chance to ask questions of the witnesses. It's basic stuff. So what I'll start by doing is reading the notice of the hearing, and we'll see if the defendant is present. Dated April 23rd, 2025, to Marcio Mambrini, 564 East Road, Tiverton, Rhode Island, sent by certified mail, read dangerous dog hearing notice. Dear Marcio Mambrini, in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 140, Section 157 of Massachusetts General Laws, you are hereby notified that a public hearing will be held before the Select Board on Tuesday, May 13th, 2025, at 7 p.m. regarding a dog owned or kept by you. Attached, please find the complaint letter from the Wareham Animal Control Officer. If you require more information, please let me know at your earliest convenience. The hearing will be held on May 13th, 2025 at 7 p.m. And again, we say if you need more information, let us know. I guess we were really making our point on that one. Location of the hearing, you are requested to attend. Sincerely, Judith Whiteside, Chair, Wareham Select Board, CC to various. Is Mr. Mambrini present? All right, I don't see anyone answering the call. I'll just say it loud in case Mr. Mambrini is out in the hall. Mr. Mambrini, are you out in the hall?
Okay.
No. Okay, no reply. So, members of the board, we have a couple different options. First, I suppose we should just ascertain that we got a green card back on this.
Yes, we,
Okay, so the notice was received and signed for.
Yep.
Okay, let's keep that as part of our record. I think we can, and did we happen to hear from Mr. Mambrini? I'll give Madam Chair a chance.
We're just double checking to see whether anyone is signing in online.
Oh, that would be good to know.
Yes.
Any Rhode Island visitors? Not at this time.
Thank you,
Okay.
sorry.
So, and no calls to the Select Board office or requests for continuance or anything of that nature?
No.
Okay. So, I think since we have proof of delivery of the notice, since this letter was sent almost 3 weeks ago, there's been plenty of time to get in touch with us if there was an issue. And I can't remember the board ever denying a request for a continuance for, ill health or inconvenience, vacation, need more time to prepare, have to hire a lawyer, whatever. You've never turned anyone down. I think it's probably safe to assume that Mr. Mombrini has chosen not to appear. So you have two options. One, if you want, you could decide to continue this hearing to another date and send Mr. Mombrini another notice, perhaps get in touch with him by telephone if he's answering the phone, and say, hey, how come you didn't show up? We're going to do it on this date. Or you can draw the conclusion that he doesn't intend to show up and proceed with the evidence and the witnesses who are here in front of you tonight. The choice is yours, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. I choose to continue with the hearing. I don't see any one of my members disagreeing with me. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct? Thank you. We will continue with the hearing.
All right, I'll carry on then. Thank you. Does anyone who intends to testify, would anyone who intends to testify, please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. And for the prosecution, we have appearing who?
Devin Cloutier, Wareham Animal Control Officer.
Okay, and the defendant hasn't answered the call, and apparently won't be answering the call. Ms. Cloutier, could you tell us the reason that we're here tonight?
Yes, so originally I put my request through as a dangerousness hearing for a dog named Max, a 2-year-old Australian Shepherd type dog owned by Marcio Mombrini at the time of the incident. This is a very convoluted, there's been a lot that has happened since I first encountered Mr. Mombrini. Originally, the request was put through as a dangerousness hearing due to Mr. Mombrini failing to be able to keep members of his household safe and the accusation of domestic violence within the home and the dog being used as an extension of intimidation, abuse, things like that. Not necessarily that the dog itself was dangerous. We've, done a ton of these hearings that have never resulted in euthanasia. We can usually mediate those prior to euthanasia, putting that request forward. But under the statute, the only thing that could protect other parties within the home, if Mr. Mombrini was to continue to own this dog, would be requesting euthanasia. Since my request, I've spoken with Mr. Mombrini, who had a contract with the breeder that sold him the dog originally, stating that if he's ever to surrender the dog is to be returned back to that breeder. So after speaking with the breeder, a trainer who had seen Max early on in his lifetime, and just kind of discussing all of the things on the table, I did give the breeder the option, if she wanted to take on the liability. I explained to her essentially everything that I knew about this dog. So the dog was transferred privately from Mr. Mombrini back to the breeder, which is a Jackie Orlando out of Rochester. So she is currently in possession of the dog. So where that has happened, I have updated my request to request the dog be deemed a nuisance as opposed to dangerousness and to take euthanasia off the table. So I'll go forward and just kind of read that request for you guys instead. That outlines pretty much everything. I, Animal Control Officer Devin Cloutier of Wareham Department of Natural Resources, hereby make a request that the dog owned or harbored by Jacqueline Orlando is deemed to be a nuisance dog as defined by Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 136A, by reason of threatening or attacking livestock, a domestic animal, or a person, but such threat was not a grossly disproportionate reaction under all the circumstances. On April 21st, 2025, I requested a dangerousness hearing regarding Max, a 2-year-old tricolor Australian Shepherd type dog that was owned by Mr. Marcio Mombrini. My request was directly related to Mr. Mombrini's inability to keep members of his home safe. The totality of the circumstances is still under investigation. It was reported to me that Max was used as a means of intimidation and abuse against members of Mr. Mombrini's household. The bites caused by Max were often described as a result of resource guarding by Max that Mr. Mombrini did nothing to correct. There were 2 bites described as unprovoked that resulted in punctures to both victims. These bites, although significant, are what I would expect to see and often do see from dogs that are understimulated, underexercised, and that lack structure within their environment. My previous requests for a dangerousness title and euthanasia were directly tied to Mr. Mombrini's behavior and attitude towards ownership of this dog. Under the statute, I could not make reasonable accommodations that I would be confident would protect members of Mr. Mombrini's household, shall Mr. Mombrini remain the owner. Mr. Mombrini had advised me of a contract that he signed upon purchase of the dog, stating that if Mr. Mombrini should relinquish ownership of the dog must be returned to the breeder. Mrs. Jacqueline Orlando is the owner of Clover Creek Kennels, located in Rochester. Mrs. Orlando was the original breeder of Max and the other party within this contract. Mr. Mombrini and Mrs. Orlando conducted a private transfer of ownership, making Mrs. Orlando the now owner of Max. After speaking with Mrs. Orlando, I do find her to be capable of owning Max safely. Mrs. Orlando actively works with a trainer dealing with high drive dogs, has a secure outdoor kennel to accommodate Max, and is the holder of a homeowner's insurance policy that covers liability. Based on my findings, I would like to formally request that Max be found to be a nuisance dog, further removing my request for euthanasia. As for recommendations for this dog, under the nuisance order, I would request that Max begin formal training with a trainer to implement behavior modification. 2, that Max is not to be handled by any person under the age of 18. 3, that when in public spaces, Max must remain on a leash, and a leash no more than 6 feet in length. And 4, that Max is not to have contact with Mr. Marcio Mombrini at any stage of his life. And then, just as a reminder, orders issued by the hearing authority shall be valid throughout the Commonwealth. The animal control officer of Max's current and future residing town or city must be notified within 30 days of Max's arrival to the residence. Failure to comply shall subject Max to seizure and impoundment by law enforcement or an animal control officer. Mrs. Orlando was notified of this hearing and requested to be present. She is not here today, as far as I'm aware. So really, the situation with the dog, the bites that were described to me, it was totaled to be 10 bites, and the photos that were sent to me in the statements depict what would be described as progression bites. So the first, I'd say 8 of them that were sent to me in photos were progressive from not puncturing the skin, not even leaving marks on the skin, up to, just kind of grazing the skin, as if you were to scratch yourself, it raises, kind of barely breaks the skin.
Over what period of time?
Over the period of Max's lifetime, as far as I was told. It was described to me that he started with play behavior and just being kind of mouthy. Mrs. Mombrini, the wife of Marcio Mombrini, had requested that he seek training for the dog. So at about, I think it was approximately a year old, the dog went to a board and train facility. So the dog sent away for about 10 days roughly, receives training, and then is returned back to the homeowner, the dog owner, I'm sorry, with follow-up visits that should be scheduled. When I was originally speaking with Mrs. Mombrini, she described that the board and train was supposed to be guaranteed for life, quote unquote, which is not how that training works, which was pretty clear that there was never any follow-up to be done and structure that was given to this dog. They didn't take the dog for walks. The dog was mainly handled by Marcio, and none of these things were being done by Marcio. So the dog was progressively getting worse and worse within the home, with no structure, being allowed to do whatever he wanted. When he would intimidate people, that was allowed, as far as I was told, and even encouraged, which I think is exactly where we started to see this behavior. The dog is a herding breed dog, very high energy. They're known notoriously to nip and use their mouths a little bit more than they should if not given the proper training. So I don't feel that any of these bites would warrant a euthanasia or even a dangerousness title on the dog. I think that by deeming the dog a nuisance and allowing that final request that the dog never be returned to Marcio at any point throughout his lifetime is the most important part of this request.
Questions from the board for the animal control officer?
I just want to make, may I?
Madam Chair.
You have changed your recommendation from humane euthanasia to being deemed a nuisance
Yes.
with 4 requirements, if you will. And would you be okay with adding that the dog never leave the possession of Miss Orlando?
Yes.
Because that's the person who apparently can control the dog, chooses to control the dog.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to adding that. I don't know that it's 100% necessary. I think that with behavior modification and the appropriate person owning this dog, somebody that has any sort of dog experience, I think that the dog would be fine. Unfortunately, through discussion with both Mr. and Mrs. Mombrini, they didn't do their research when getting this breed of dog. They bought a dog based on looks versus their lifestyle. So I think anybody that is familiar with this breed of dog would be pretty okay with owning the dog. So that kind of adds a little bit of a gray area to that one.
I guess I have one more. That the dog never be owned by anybody who is anywhere near Mr. Mombrini.
Yes,
would
so that's
be
why I
a
specifically
recommendation,
put
yeah.
that Max is not to have contact with him at all. Not only to be owned by him, but not to make contact with him. No visits, no, play dates or anything like that.
Thank you, I'm all set.
I just have a quick question.
Yep.
How old is Max now?
2 years old,
Yeah,
intact
he's still a
as
young
well.
dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Intact.
Yes.
I had a relative who had the exact same dog, and luckily she knew what to do with it, and it was fun.
Yep. They
Yeah,
can be
it was
great
expected
dogs.
that the dog would try to herd the children.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they can be a great pet if you know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids could use the herding.
No, no questions.
Mr. Chadwick?
No, I have no questions.
Mr. Gill?
No questions?
We have no other questions. At this point, Madam Chairman, the appropriate measures would be, number 1, to close the hearing, and then number 2, after that, take a vote regarding the animal control officer's request. As a sample motion, if you were to accept the 4, I believe it was 4, conditions of the animal control officer's recommendation, you could simply say, I move to accept the animal control officer's recommendation and issue an order accordingly, and that would cover it. So back to you, Madam Chairman, to close the hearing.
I just want to have you do one more call to make sure that there's no one else here who would like to speak in this hearing, sir.
Mr. Mombrini, I don't see anyone new in the room, and the gentle lady from Rochester, I haven't seen anyone come in, so
No.
I think we're set.
Thank you.
I move to close the public hearing for the 7 PM for the dangerous dog.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to close the hearing. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Still?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
Mr. Corbett?
Aye.
Mr. Gomes?
Aye.
Myself. Hearing is closed. I would suggest in the hearing that this last paragraph also become part of the order, because I don't want that dog, yes, your 4 are, you know what I'm saying?
Which one? Order issued by hearing authority shall be valid through the Commonwealth?
Yeah,
Or-
so that, blah, 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 this can never be anywhere near him.
The Rochester Animal Control Officer was also notified of this already as well.
Okay. Please.
Yes, I move to accept the 4 conditions that Animal Control Officer Devin Cloutier has recommended. As printed, I'll read them out. Max must begin formal training with a trainer to implement behavior modification. 2, Max is not to be handled by any person under the age of 18. 3, When in public spaces, Max must remain leashed on a leash no more than 6 feet in length. 4, Max is not to have contact with Mr. Marcio Mombrini at any stage of his life. Order issued by the hearing authority shall be valid throughout the Commonwealth. The animal control officer of Max's current and future residing town, city, must be notified within 30 days of Max's arrival to the residence. Failure to comply shall subject Max to seizure and impound by the law enforcement or animal control officer.
Is there a second to that
Oh,
motion?
second.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion or any questions on that motion? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call. But Mr. Still?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Aye.
Ms. Corbett?
Aye.
Myself, aye. It is so. Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Is there any further business to come before this meeting?
Motion
Thank
to
you,
adjourn.
Officer Cloutier.
Thank you all very much, and also congratulations.
Thank you.
Second that.
Motion made to adjourn and has been seconded. It is not for debate. I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Still?
Aye.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Aye.
Ms. Corbett? And myself, aye. The meeting is over at 7:21.
Go back.